You too, Tone, back with another one for you. Now this here is a continuation of cracking the code. This is a good one here. This gets into consensual contracts, the U.S. Supreme Court's judgments on consensual contracts, and how you have no obligation to enter into any contracts with anybody, including the fucking quasi governmental agencies that are actually corporations with registered DUN numbers for profit businesses. You have no obligation to entertain them at all. So says the Supreme Court as well. Okay, that's why it's important to get your contracts in place so these motherfuckers can never act like you consensually entered into a contract, because then you can provide the fact that you already have a contract with them that you noticed them of that said that you would fucking never consensually contract with them, and if you did, then this would be the fee associated with such contract. So then they have to fucking pay you, and when these assholes get dragged into the Supreme Court, they're looked at like the fucking bum ass losers that they are, and they're treated accordingly. Okay, they don't have any standing in that motherfucker. So let's get into this shit. So before any contractual encounter commences, i.e. before a code enforcement operative evokes your unwitting execution of a contract, you are considered a sovereign being who can claim all protections afforded by the Constitution from the de jure government, one of which is contracting with whomever you wish. That the code enforcer does not represent the de jure government is of no consequence. You are also accorded as a sovereign respect for having full understanding of what you are getting into and with whom you are dealing. So, and for contracting as you best see fit. That you decide on doing business with a municipal corporation in Chapter 11, reorganization, is a bona fide self-determined commercial discretion that any businessman can reasonably make, and which is warmly welcomed by those soliciting the business. The major discrepancy in that transaction is that there is no meeting of the minds, a necessary component in any valid contract, but since you are a sovereign, you are nevertheless respected for any bargains you enter into, however unconscionable they may be. Okay? Because they can't interfere with any contracts that you decide to enter into. So this all takes place, of course, in the strawman's trade name, but that is a rather moot point when one is faced with such finalities as garnishment of wages, eviction, and the business end of a loaded .38 caliber police special. The system justifies abuse of the American sovereign, indeed thrives on it, because the sovereign was duped fair and square into becoming a surety for the trade name. The cure for the volunteeritis: if you are not absolutely certain that you are a sovereign, guess what? You are not a sovereign. Yeah, how fucking true is that? So true sovereignty begins between your ears and is actual. I was just speaking with a client yesterday about this shit, and I was telling him, when the Cowardly Lion finally got to the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, and he was looking for his courage, which essentially can be sovereignty. Look at it as sovereignty. What did he give him? He gave him a fucking ribbon to wear on his fucking chest, and he walked away happy with it. What the fuck do you want? You want somebody to give you back your fucking sovereignty, bro? You already have it. You've always had it. Cut that shit the fuck out. So true sovereignty begins between your ears and is actualized when Big Brother operatives determine that you are certain of exactly who you are and what you are doing. So how does sovereignty manifest in today's world? As of March 9th, 1933, life is no longer the same in America. Currently, sovereignty is evidenced when the everyday contracts one enters into cease being one-sided, unconscionable bargains with government agents, courts, taxmen, banks, and corporations, and uniformly begin being self-determined, consensual, clean hand, full disclosure type contracts, relationships where each party is fully informed of the actual terms of the contract going into the contract, rather than discovering after the fact that one has been whatever the fuck that is, finagled, essentially. So how does one cease being a victim of government? Forced into complying with the terms of endless unconscionable contracts by not consenting. Not consenting means that just declining participation in the communication, not approving of that which is proposed, not taking part in the dialogue, opting out from the very beginning, the instant before anything can be construed as having contractually begun, refusing discussion of the merits of the situation, informing the code enforcement revenue agent that you do not wish to continue doing business with him. And also, when you decide to speak to him, these motherfuckers like to try to trick you into it you can go ahead and say something along the lines of, I don't have a problem answering your questions, but by no means is our conversation going to be construed as me entering into any type of contracts with you. You know what I'm saying? And you do have to like speak to them like that. Make sure you get it on tape. If you got like a dash cam, things like that, get that shit on get that shit fucking recorded. So Supreme Court has consistently ruled that no one has any compulsion to enter into any contract with anyone else, including de facto municipal corporations like the United States, Inc. So the bottom here says, Mr. Speaker, we are now here, Chapter 11. Members of Congress are officially trustees, providing over the greatest reorganization of any bankruptcy entity in the world, the U.S. government. So look at that. So essentially, all these people are trustees in receivership of a bankrupt corporation. This is who they are, okay? Don't let them fucking lie to you, because this is exactly who they are. They gassed up Walmart employees. That's who you're dealing with. So it is a myriad of de facto political subdivision, such as the state of Florida, in all caps, rather than Florida Republic, and County of Dallas rather than Dallas County. And you see what they're doing. They're just flipping the words, right? And then you fucking bring this up and they're going to be like, oh, look at you flipping the words. No, how about you fucking assholes already flipped the words, so I'm fucking putting them back. I'm putting them back because you assholes flipped it. So there is no requirement that anyone consent with anything. The word itself means mutual approval, and if you don't approve, no contract commences, right? This is why you can discharge the tickets. I got the video on that. If you want the file, let me know. You got 72 hours from the time that you receive a presentment to accept it or reject it. You can absolutely fucking reject that. You're not obligated to give these motherfuckers anything, especially if they're acting like assholes. You know what I'm saying? So there are probably many reasons why otherwise strong-willed Americans routinely submit and go along with what is forced upon them. Fear, misplaced trust, anticipated harm, feelings of guilt. What is missed is the revenue agent's first objective in demanding money in forming a contract that can be justifiably enforced at a later time if necessary. The judge, cop, attorney, taxman, etc. is raising revenue on behalf of his or her corporate employer, and more times than not, sharing in the take. Okay, so it's just business, and anyone can refuse to do business with anyone else, even with the fake government. You know what I'm saying? Which the word government is mind control anyway. You know what I'm saying? Governmental. It's govern your fucking mind. That's what they do. It's mind control. So granted, this can be a terrifying experience if you are the object of something as a life-threatening as a routine traffic stop, but you can still prevail despite the odds. So the motorist, right? So this is like a reenactment between a motorist and a cop. So window rolled down about 1 inch, both hands on the steering wheel. What seems to be the problem, officer? Policeman. How about you please roll down the window a little farther? Motorist. How can I help you, officer? Policeman. License or registration, please. Motorist. I do not consent to this conversation. Policeman said, license or registration now. Yeah, okay, bro, okay, right? Because you got the gun? Okay. So motorist, I do not consent to this conversation. Policeman, placing his hands on his revolver. If you do not hand over your license or registration now, I'm going to drag you out of that car and take you to jail. And this is exactly how these motherfuckers act too. You know what I'm saying? If you decide not to fucking contract with them, they get fucking retarded like that. Like if there's somebody gassed up Walmart employees with guns is who you're dealing with, okay? So the motorist, roll down your window smiling. Oh, well, in that case, it's an entirely different matter. Since you are using color of law and threatening me with bodily harm and forcing me to do business with you against my will, I am happy to cooperate under duress. Here's my license and registration. May I have one of your business cards, please? Policeman hands over a business card, and here's a copy of his published copyright setting the terms for the consensual contract for unauthorized use of my common law copyrighted property. My name is my copyrighted property under common law, and the fee for it. And so before we get to the next page, the fee for it is $500,000 per use. That's what this guy has it at. Mine's a little bit lower and shit. I keep it reasonable so they can afford to be fucking assholes and still keep their house. You know what I'm saying? So the term booty is legally defined as the capture of personal property by a public enemy on land, contradiction to prize, which is the capture of such property at sea. The right to booty belongs to the sovereign, but sometimes the right of the sovereign or of the public is transferred to the soldiers to encourage them, legally speaking at least, in accordance with the Amendatory Act, March 9, 1933 of the Trading with the Enemies Act. Judges and the IRS agents are public enemies, so of the American sovereign constituency. Soldiers Soldiers in service of foreign masters and appropriately share handsomely in the booty plunder they capture in the course of their duties. Judges administer and enforce copyrighted law of British corporations exclusively, and the IRS, officially disclaimed as an agency of the United States government by the United States Attorney, is domiciled in Puerto Rico under the Secretary of Treasury of Puerto Rico. Okay, they commercially trafficked everybody off of the land of America so they could fucking commercially rob everybody over there by saying that nobody's home because nobody knows who the fuck they are, and they don't know that they've been commercially trafficked off the land. They're really there, but they're they're physically there. They're physically there, but they commercially trafficked their strawman off the land to be able to fucking take it over commercially. Dudes are fucking morons. I mean, it's fucking genius, really, if you think about it, but they're fucking assholes nonetheless. So it's 500,000 per use, and the use is fairly steep per occurrence, right? So I have mine at 12,000 per violation per actor that took place in any other fucking problems. You know, I've yet to send my fucking invoice to these pieces of shit yet. You know, I'm looking forward to it though. So you might want to look over the terms of this consensual contract that you would be entering into by writing my copyrighted property to any piece of paper, right? So every time they use your name and they fucking write it down, they have to fucking pay, and you have proof, you know. So I handle my fucking injunction paperwork that I already had on file, my estoppel. You know, I got proof that I already served these motherfuckers and all that. I hand it to him. He looks at it. This is my real life experience. I hand it to him. He looks at it. It's got the Bill of Rights in it, right? This is a state constitution. He looks at it. He's like, "Oh, this is good," and he's smiling and laughing. I'm like, "Bro, what are you laughing at?" He fixes his face, right? He's looking at it. He's like, "Oh, this is good, but what is it? State law supersedes this." Bro, you're holding the fucking Bill of Rights in your hands, right? You signed the oath to uphold the state constitution, and you're gonna tell me that corporate fucking codes and statutes override the Bill of Rights? These are the type of fucking assholes that you're dealing with. Motherfuckers with guns that don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, really gassed up and would physically cause you harm because they don't know what the fuck that they're doing. This is who you're dealing with out there, okay? This is who you're dealing with. So, policeman, what the hell are you talking about? I do not wish to do business with you, officer, but if you insist on it, then I have an obligation to inform you of the fees associated with the use of my name, which is copyrighted. Should you decide that you would like to do business with me and accept the obligation for payment of the fees for unauthorized use of my copyrighted property, then I will send you a bill, which is payable in full within 10 days of the date I send it. The terms of the contract stipulate that you pledge all your tangible and intangible... So when they move forward, you can go put a lien on their house, their car, and all that. So they don't even understand. Like, you know, once they lose their job, they lose their car, and they lose their fucking house. They lose their wife because that bitch ain't trying to be with none of these bum ass motherfuckers with nothing. All because they don't understand what the fuck that they're doing. And they use these police officers, and they usually hire fucking morons because they're their pawns. So, and it's not anybody that told them to go do it that's going to have to deal with the consequences. It's the motherfucker committing the actual action, okay? That's going to have to be the pawn and deal with the consequences. It's not even their boss that told them to go do it that has to deal with it. So all you cops out there listening, know that it's you who has to pay the price. It isn't your boss. Nobody gives a fuck what he told you to do because you did it, all right? So the terms of the contract stipulate that you pledge all your tangible and intangible property and interest in property as security for payment of the debt that you incur for unauthorized use of my name. If you do not pay within the 10-day period, then legal title for all your property transfers to me. I am free to take possession of it and dispose of it as I see fit. In order to recover the cost incurred from your unauthorized use of my name, my copyrighted property, if you will give me your home address, I will bill it to your home rather than to the station house. Policeman, I never heard of this one before. Is this some kind of joke? In all reality, he's the fucking joke. He's the one wearing a costume. You know what I'm saying? So who the fuck's really the joke here, bro? So motorists, no sir, this is extremely serious. My published copyright notice is also filed with the county recorder. That contract that you have in your hand is official public record, and here is a certified copy of the filing. What I'm saying is no secret and it's no joke. I do not wish to do business with you, but if you insist and you force me into it, I will cooperate, but you will be liable for the unauthorized use of the fee of my use of my copyrighted property. Since you have threatened me with bodily harm, I am very willing to cooperate under duress. At this point, the choice is entirely yours. What would you like to do? Policeman, have a nice day. So long. Okay. See how that goes? So, wow. Well, What just happened? The revenue agent, the officer for the insolvent municipal corporation government, put on a show of force and attempted to coerce the sovereign motorist into voluntarily entering and thereby accepting financial responsibility for a commercial contract, a traffic ticket, so that the officer intended on generating. The con never got off the ground because the motorist never accepted any communication from the officer until the issue of duress was established, thereby voiding any contract formed thereupon. Adroitly establishing on the motorist's terms the parameters of the nonviolent consensual contract for the officer's unauthorized use of the common law copyrighted name, trade name, y'all caps. The cop then decided against doing business with the motorist. So there's an example, however visceral, of what eliminating a one-sided unconscionable contract begins with the government actors means. Please note, however, this example has not been included. Here is a tacit recommendation that the reader undertake this strategy if confronted by a police officer in a traffic stop, though the above is an entirely plausible event, right? And it doesn't always happen like that, because these motherfuckers do force it. They do force it. But, you know, it's all fucking learning. It's all learning lessons. And, you know, at some point you got to be grateful for having went through it, because then you wouldn't be able to learn from it and grow from it. Like, had I not went through this shit, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So did he do good in the sense that he fucking pushed me forward to do this shit? Yeah. But there's still a price to pay. And it don't even have to be from me. There's karmic rules in this motherfucker. And you will pay. Nothing is free. So, exchange. When the reader fully absorbs the knowledge available in this volume, he or she will be fully capable of making his or her own decisions about what should be said and how it should be said. So, if confronted by a code enforcement officer type actor, revenue agent, both in person and in writing, when someone realizes his or her creditor's sovereign standing, all confusion evaporates and he or she has knowingness and certainty about what should be said and done in any circumstance. The above sample dialogue has been provided only because it is a vivid, easily understood illustration of how people can avoid being coerced into doing business with Big Brother at any level of confrontation. So, the issue of copyright infringement, there is really no problem with people using copyrighted property unless they use it for commercial gain, i.e. making money through the use of private property without the copyright holder's authorization. As addressed elsewhere in this manual, all demands for payment constitute an issue of public currency. Remember, there is no substance or money in circulation. Until 1933, the Federal Reserve notes could be redeemed in lawful money of the United States, meaning that Federal Reserve notes never were and still are not lawful money. Having left the gold standard, we are now on a promise to pay standard. A promise to pay now creates money and is what funds your mortgage, auto loan, credit card purchases, and every other kind of loan you take out, including traffic tickets. A promise to pay is a negotiable instrument. Money is defined as at UCC 3-104. The traffic cop in the above example intended on taking out a loan in the name of the motorist's straw name by extracting the motorist's promise to appear and then pay, thus saddling him with the bill as surety for the trade name. And so this is what they do. So they use your copywritten trade name to create debt out of thin air. Which I don't know how they do that, because I mean, they're not a fucking financial institution. Are they a bank to be creating fucking money out of fucking thin air? No. So they're using your copywritten name, which mine is fucking registered with the IRS as a fucking corporation, and I also have it common law copywritten as well. So how the fuck they're creating that out of thin air? Who the fuck knows? But there's gonna be a price to pay, either from me personally when I send you the bill, and or the IRS, because the name essentially belongs to them in the commercial aspect. It belongs to them. You know what I'm saying? So the copyright notice short circuits anyone from using your trade name and unauthorized commercial gain. The primary objective of virtually every single government on the face of earth. Consent equals contract. So had the motorist even rolled down the window upon the officer opening statement, he would have formed a damning contract with the officer. Two timeless and universal maxims of law are contract makes the law, and officer and the acceptance equals contract. The motorist acceptance of compliance with any order from any officer before establishing the fact of duress finalizes a consensually mutually approved contract between the two, whereby the motorist has decided that he will do business with the officer on the officer's terms, thereby providing the officer with justification for the use of any necessary violence in carrying out any duties associated with the contracts, expropriating revenue. So you see these fucking stupid ass fucking games that they play. It could be something as simple as like, could you take off your glasses, please? Something stupid like that, which is what this fucking asshole said to me too. And I didn't even think of that it could be something as simple as that, right? But it doesn't authorize them to fucking use your name at all and shit like that. So when one party, anyone approaches another party seeking cooperation, information, etc., and approach party cooperates, provided information, the approaching party is automatically in the driver's seat and is calling the shots. His offers of communications are being accepted and acted upon. Police and other such professional provocateurs, especially judges, are experts in inducing cooperation and participation through both the threat of violence, incarceration, and the use of deceitful communication techniques whereby the prey is tricked into entering into the contract before becoming aware that any contract has taken place. And this is the grimy shit that they do. And it could be as something as like when you're walking out of the courtroom and if he says stop and you turn around and stop, boom, they could just fucking go and grab you like that. These are the fucking games. That's why you're better off not even going there and just defaulting them out of their bullshit and getting your judgment through the mail. You know what I'm saying? So, because, I mean, it is stupid games like that. So, you know, if they want to play like fucking criminals, then they can't get mad when they get treated like fucking criminals. You know what I'm saying? So, Title 17, United States Code, Chapter 1, Section 107, Statutory Law, lists fair use of copyrighted material that do not constitute copyright infringement. None of the fair use includes commercial gain, and so there it is. So it's not fair use for them to use your name when they're unauthorized for the purpose of commercial gain. So there it is. And if it had nothing to do with commerce or commercial gain, then apparently they can just use it and throw it the fuck around, which is whatever. So. But you know, they're not just using your name for nothing. They're trying to get you to come and pay a bill that they're making up with your name. So then formed. So the pretext used by Big Brother's henchmen for slyly establishing contracts with unwitting customers are many. The object of all such cons, however, is always the same. The victim, citizens, wealth, money, property, assets. They're trying to get whatever they can get out of you. So code enforcement type actors are seeking the slightest measure of justification for carrying out their agenda. Nearly all of them know that that consent is required every step of the way, though many of them will arrogantly storm ahead without it, thinking that they are above the law. They may be above statutory law code, but no one is above the articles of the Uniform Commercial Code governing private consensual contracts. A unique aspect of consensual contracts is that the agreed upon terms may be privately enforced, true commercial law, because there is no controversy, dispute, need for resolution for a third party, a judge, or a court. The UCC is a pre-judicial, non-judicial. That is why the creditor motorist is the above example could begin seizing certain property registered at the officer's trade name following the officer's default on payment of the obligation after having been given the opportunity to back out of the contract and after being properly invoiced because it is so stated in the consensual contract. Both of the copyright notice and subsequent formal contract of the creditor motorist would send the officer if he were issued a citation. The officer would have consensually entered into the contract after I gave this motherfucker my estoppel, he decided to hand it back and decided to move forward. So now, by law, him and the other motherfucker that he called in both have to fucking pay me by law. Okay? So I wonder how that's gonna play out for them. I can tell you right now, they're not gonna win. So the officer would have consensually entered into the contract if having been fully noticed of its terms and he did not fully, formally, and officially withdraw, delete, erase, destroy all traces of the motorist's copyrighted property brought into existence by him, and possibly even surrender all original documents, written, electronic, and taped, and all copies thereof, containing both the policeman's signature and the motorist's all caps trade name, depending on the severity of the terms of contract set by the motorist. So this is why you got to get your contracts in place, and when you hand it to them, have that be the first things that you guys talk about is your fucking contract, and give them an opportunity to go ahead and look over the price. And if they feel comfortable with it, then they can move forward. And just like any other contract, they're gonna have to fucking pay, okay? Privately and publicly, both. So it is a game of chess, and this is exactly what it is. Stop playing checkers with these assholes. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.